and Rob suggested that I sort of not reinvent, but maybe rebrand, start using my own name and cut through the noise a bit. And the more and more I thought about it, and the more the label thought about it, everyone just agreed that it was a great idea.
Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in our old friend John LaMacchia. How are you doing, pal?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing really good. Good to see you again, and
So
thanks for
good.
having me on.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for being with us. It's so good to see you. We've chatted before. I haven't seen
Mhm.
you a couple of years.
Right?
Life changes and stuff, but so good that we have this confusing and deliberately consternating technology that somehow aids us and also works against us sometimes. But I
Yeah,
appreciate
you're
you.
right. 100%, man.
You're very patient. We make records with this technology. We talk to each other,
Right.
but it is. We were saying just before we started recording what a just banana balls time this is in
Hmm.
the world. We just had this terrible thing happen in New York City. This shooting, as we record this today, and just the fragility of the world. It's ever present, man.
It really is. Yeah, I was just mentioning that the shooter's U-Haul truck was found literally 3 blocks, 3 or so blocks from my house. And so it's been pretty lively around here. There's like, there was like bomb squad vehicles driving around, tons of police vehicles, FBI. It's pretty intense. But it's great to see the quick response, which is amazing. But at the same time, it's quite scary that this guy just literally just vanished, and he's hiding somewhere in this. He must be. He can't be far.
Yeah,
So it's kind of scary to think about that.
it kind of throws me back to the Boston Marathon bombing. I was living
Right?
in Boston at the time this
Oh,
happened, and
wow.
so that same thing, that whole tight,
Mm,
it's a not too different than New York,
right.
Boston, except for the size and the sports teams. And
Mm.
so, my heart goes right back to that moment,
Yeah, sure.
and my thoughts are always with my friends in New York City, my
Hmm.
hometown, and
Hmm.
it's we're known as this big, we're painted as this big analogous uncaring city, but it's
Right.
untrue. We're actually a very tight knit,
Yeah, it's true.
even people who are trying to live their life and not human at all and ignore everybody and sit on the train and look straight ahead and never stare at anybody, we are
Hmm.
not unfeeling and uncaring. I think we've shown that in the
Sure.
20 plus years since 9/11 and just everything else. So,
Right.
anybody I know that's affected, I'm sorry. I hope no one lost anybody.
Hmm.
And, just I mourn for the people who were lost. It's terrible.
Hmm.
Senseless violence sucks.
Yeah.
Period. End of, full stop.
Right. Exactly.
Just no
You
full
know,
stop.
people. I always liked the old saying. I forget who said it first, but New York City can be a very small town. It can be a very small town.
Yeah, it depends on your experience. But it's not for
Exactly.
everybody.
It's
It
definitely
has
not.
I know
Yeah.
for a fact it has ground up and chewed out quite a few
Oh
lifers
yeah, sure. Especially
and
these days with the pressures of the world and the
yeah,
pandemic and everything. I mean, anyway.
heaviness. But on the plus side,
Right.
we're here to. I haven't seen you in a few years. You were doing a showcase for your label, still going strong.
Mm-hmm.
Got to see Candiria, still awesome. But you have a solo project that I'm super excited to talk about under your own name,
Right.
which is a bold choice. You've had
Mm-hmm.
many other bands, but this is under your name on purpose.
Right.
Thunderheads coming out on the excellent Aqualamb Records, and I want to
Hmm.
talk about them as well because I think they don't get enough love, and
Yeah.
I suspect you chose them for a very specific reason and purpose, which I'm excited to talk about. But yeah, catch us up on the last couple of years while you were creating this record, and was this made kind of? I wonder, was this made kind of in the bubble of the pandemic times, or was this sort of in the works for a long time?
It actually, the entire sort of album recording and sort of the development of it kind of started right before the pandemic. And this was going to be another Copa record originally, which is a name that I went by for many, many years for my solo work. And as it developed and kind of grew into this, album with this, with these songs that had a similar theme, um, the idea came up of Rob Gross from BMI, who was formerly of BMI, who is a good friend and someone who was also someone in the business, as you know. Um, had a conversation with my manager, Chris Enriquez. Shout out to Chris. Uh, And Chris mentioned to him that I was working on an album, going to put it out on Aqualamb. And Rob suggested that I sort of not reinvent, but maybe rebrand, start using my own name and cut through the noise a bit. And the more and more I thought about it, and the more the label thought about it, everyone just agreed that it was a great idea. So I really have to thank Rob for suggesting that, because I don't think I would have been able to make that move. It was an uncomfortable change, you know, in a way. But that's growth, right? So it was a really great suggestion, and I'm glad we did it, because this really truly is a very focused, singular sort of voice, and I'm very proud of it.
Definitely, you should be. It definitely stands apart from all your other work, both sonically and just the whole package. And I love that it's under your name. It is,
Thank you.
again, as I said, a bold choice, so maybe vulnerable.
Hmm.
Definitely puts you out there as
Yeah.
opposed to under a banner.
Hmm.
And what a terrific album. Now, of course, I've gotten to spend a little time with the record, and it's really fantastic. It's definitely, it's you, 100% you, but it's got some definitely new tonal flavors and things.
Hmm.
I know there are like some things referenced in the press materials, like Dubs, which is a band I know we're both fans of. But like, I got a very cool, certainly at times, I know Radiohead is going to come up, but
Hmm.
I got like a very cool Pixies thing from the vocals, because you made
Oh,
this
okay.
choice to work with some amazing co lead vocalists. You're out here
Hmm.
on your own with your own voice,
Hmm.
which you did a wonderful job. But I love this idea of the twin leads at the same
Hmm.
time on the melodies, and
Hmm.
it does bring like a completely new flavor to your work.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm very fortunate to know some very talented uh, people in general, and the fact that I know uh, I've worked with three different female vocalists throughout the last several years. I just feel very fortunate that I can call on them and just be like, "Hey, man, I need a vocal. I need a harmony here. I'd love to hear a female vocalist with me throughout the whole song, that kind of thing." And there's just people that are like, "Oh, hell yeah, I can hear that," and kind of work with them. I have to like kind of thank them, Sabrina Ellie, Andrea Horn, and Candice Freshco, who actually co-wrote one of the songs, which is kind of the centerpiece of the album in a sense. She just came up with a beautiful melody and a beautiful, beautiful. She has such a great tone in her voice. It's really intense. So I'm just grateful that I have these wonderful people around me, and they're just willing to work and excited to work. Um, but I appreciate the sort of Pixies comment, because I definitely I hear that as well, and it's definitely a band that's influenced me, even subconsciously, consciously, so I appreciate it.
Oh, no doubt. And I always tell people, like, when you hear '90s, alternative rock or grunge, you're really hearing a lot of things you don't realize that are from before the '90s, like
Hmm.
Pixies. I'm a huge
Yeah.
Pixies fan. I'm always thrilled when they're back. I know they just did a huge tour, I think right before the pandemic, for Surfer Rosa, which
Hmm.
is like my favorite Pixies record. It was like my Pixies record. Everybody has theirs. This one is mine.
Right.
And yeah, definitely there's like a really cool indie alternative thing going through here that just perfect for this kind of style of vocals. But the record again is not dissimilar from some of your other work that other people know and
Hmm.
appreciate. But I do love, like, there's these electronic sort of like Portishead vibes,
Hmm.
and there's this
Sure.
experimental vibe that always comes with your work.
Hmm.
Your stuff is so multifaceted. Did this come, this just sort of take it a song at a time, or was this kind of a concept to you to just do this diverse record, or what?
Well, it was really like sort of song, one song at a time kind of deal, and because of the circumstances of the pandemic and sort of the I guess the isolation, songs were made based on the my ability to either work with someone, or in most cases I was not able to work with anyone. So a lot of it developed on my own in my home. Um, but yeah, it really was one song at a time, and there was a lot of different songs that were on sort of the slab to be sort of like I had to decide what worked for the record, and as diverse as the record is sonically, these songs thematically all made the most sense, and I felt were the strongest songs, with that had like that. not a concept, but thematically it just worked together.
Nice. And in addition to those awesome female vocalists you mentioned earlier, I got to shout out a very huge guest appearance on the record that
Oh
definitely
yeah.
shapes the record. I was going to give you an opportunity to talk about it
Mhm.
because we are both failure nerds.
Oh hell yes, unbelievable, man! What a cool thing. And I mean, I feel so lucky to have had like interactions with Kelli Scott at this point, and like to actually be like, yo, Kelly, what's up, man? And just like have this sort of back and forth with someone who I've been listening to their music for so long, and I've been such a huge fan for so long. Um, he's just such a sweet, easygoing guy. Like you never think that someone's going to be like that, like, wow, I can't believe how easy that was. And he's just really easygoing. He's a sweetheart. And I think that what he did during the pandemic was probably one of the coolest, awesomest things that anyone could do with their time in isolation, which was he was just like, look, I will play on anyone's music, whether you're a beginner or you're a pro. You send me your files and I will lay down drums to them. And he did it for like so cheap for everyone. And it was just such a great thing. And when originally the drummer for this project was Frank Godla, and then a lot of things in his life changed. Obviously, the pandemic changed so many things in so many people's lives. So his life changed, and he couldn't no longer do it. So then when it came time to figuring out who was going to play drums in the album, my bass player Mike was like, well, Kelly Scott's doing this thing where he's playing on everyone's drums. And I was like, why didn't I think of that? And so sure enough, I reached out to him, and he was very happy to work on the songs, and it came out. I'm really really psyched that he did. So super pumped.
Yeah, fantastic, and
Yeah.
hit the vibes all perfectly,
Mhm.
and said some very glowing things about you himself,
Yeah.
and and of course Mike is Mike from Candiria for those that don't know,
Yeah.
and shout out to Frank. We love Frank Godla.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a great people.
We're not rivals. We work a little bit with Frank, and
Hmm.
congratulations to Frank and his ascent in charge of Metal Sucks and Injection, which is incredible, and
Yeah. No, absolutely,
proud. I
Frank.
know that guy a long time. Good
Yeah,
stuff.
he's good people, man, and yeah, he's always doing interesting things. His Slay at Home Fest was another thing that I thought was a really really positive thing to do. Even though I know how hard that guy worked on that. I mean, it was like so much work for him. But those kinds of things, when you see people go even harder, when the world seems like it's like falling to pieces, and then you have somebody like Frank who just is like, fuck it, I'm gonna do this crazy thing that's gonna like consume my life, but it's gonna, every month he did it, it was a different benefit. It was just like a really amazing thing to do.
Right on. I think that's the one, the two, let's say two things that really sprung out of the, what necessitated by the times
Yeah,
is one, the political activism of the time, which I will
yeah,
never forget in my lifetime how huge
mm,
that was and
right.
continues to be needed, but
Mm,
was particularly, empowering at that time to see. And
sure.
then also, like I said, as much suffering, we had the equal amount of charity and the equal
Hmm.
amount of care. It
Sure.
seemed like it, at least collectively for a minute. And yeah, shout out Slay at Home was fantastic. We tried to
Hmm.
call it out whenever we could. Frank not only organized all those, he played on them all,
Yeah.
which is
Can you
nuts.
imagine?
I can't imagine, but I know you also. I know how weird. Just not to sidebar too badly, but I know how weird it must be live streaming when you're such a renowned player and writer, and obviously the studio is your friend, and I'm sure
Hmm.
you're no stranger to play through videos and things like this that are part of the business. But to play like the live streams, like I try to tell people, it's like watching on YouTube doesn't replace the shows. Now that shows
Yeah.
are coming back, please
Right.
go back out to shows
Yeah.
and
It's true.
please support live music. And again, like the last time I saw you was at a venue that's not even around anymore. I think it
Right.
was going to probably go out of business anyway. Brooklyn Bazaar, rest in
Yeah.
peace. But like
Mhm.
I had so many good times there.
Sure. Yeah.
Even with the so sound, it was
Hmm.
so many good shows. I think yours that I went to was the next to last one I was at, and I think
Hmm.
the last one was, I'm gonna say, Prong on a Sunday night. At the
Okay.
same time, there was a show at Knockdown Center.
Right.
So it
Right.
was like there was a hardcore show over there and Prong over here, and I was like, oh, New York,
Right.
shows
Yeah.
everywhere. You got to choose. But yeah,
It's
man,
true. It's true.
Thunderheads, man, as a whole is a wonderful piece of music, and like I said, I think the strength is in the diversity, and it really shows just kind of your full palette of
Thank
skills.
you
There's
so
some
much.
heaviness if you're a fan of your heavy music.
Mhm.
There's some avant-garde stuff if you like that. There's this indie rock, like I said, alternative indie rock thing that's really strong. And then, like I said, there's also these moods, these electronic moods
Hmm.
that could have just been almost very soundtracky, soundscape things, but they have
Right.
this, very throbbing beat and vibe.
Mm. Well, I appreciate it so much, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have a particular favorite track on the record? I have a few of mine.
I would say, whew, a favorite track. I think A Ghost on Tectonic Plates is probably my favorite because I do sing the whole song alone, and it's it's a very singular sort of focused I guess piece of work, and it kind of happened very organically, and was definitely something that like I came up with the guitar part and the music bit, and I was like, oh man, this is a really beautiful, fun thing to play, and I really love this, interesting tuning that I'm doing. And then the vocal melody, just like I literally like the next day, because this guitar piece is in my head over and over, the melody came to mind, and the lyrics just poured out. You know when something just happens and it's just like this thing that just comes out of you, or something happens in your life, it's like serendipitous and like this perfect experience. I must say that that is definitely one of my favorites on the album. I also think Angel's Delight as well, because I love working with Candice. We've worked together she's been in my music videos in the past. She's done merch for Candiria in the past. She's just been this ever present um, buddy and like pal, and we have a great history. And she's a really talented artist. No matter what she does, she's sort of like a jack of all trades when it comes to art and creativity, whether it be modeling or being in videos or work building fabrication for a company she works for in New York, to singing songs, playing in a weird post-punk band that she was in for a while. She's just a super talented person and very interesting. And the collaboration to make that song was just such a satisfying experience, because every single aspect of it was a complete 50-50, like equal. We were so in the moment and so enjoying this process. And it was just a really, really wonderful experience. It really was.
Nicely done, Candace. Is wonderful. And in a similar vein, I had for you. Thanks for doing my segue for me. You also are a very multifaceted artist. You always have been, and writer, producer, guitarist, band member, solo artist, singer, artist. And so I think the choice of Aqualamb, that always does these really grandiose packages
Yeah.
and puts a lot of thought and care into layout, which is a very underrated aspect
Right.
of the music business, and underrated aspect of album art.
Mhm.
And so you've paired up with Aqualamb, who also has killer bands, of course,
Yeah, sure.
including
Mhm.
Frail, who you're going to play a gig with soon.
Right.
And similar, the Frail package for their last album blew my mind. It was like the best
Mhm.
packaging I've seen. They should have
Mhm.
won an award for it. And the same, this is coming with a 100-page art book. And people may not know you for your actually your artistry, but you're
Right.
quite a good artist. You've got a lot of album credits. So talk about that pairing and how Aqualamb factors into this release also.
Well, you kind of hit the nail on the head. I mean, Aqualam has been, they've just been doing their thing for many years now. And it's funny to see a lot of artists like Emma Ruth Rundle and Chelsea Wolfe and other labels starting to be like, books, huh? And Aqualam's been doing this for quite some time now. And they kind of been leading the charge in that regard. Um, and I don't, like you said, I don't think they get enough credit, but I feel like the more and more they do their thing, the more and more they become a New York, Brooklyn institution, or whatever you want to call it, the more and more they will get they will get the respect they deserve. Not that they don't get, but I mean more.
Yeah, more,
um,
more, more is the goal.
More is the goal. But you hit the nail on the head, man. I mean, they come from a design sort of, that's their the root of what they do is based in design. And I really do love the amount of attention they pay to packaging. The fact that they're not afraid to go outside the box. They just made, I don't know if you saw, but for Godmaker, they made those hammers. They literally made like, you can buy a fucking Godmaker hammer that's like from the, so cool.
I want
They're,
one. Jesus, like I want to hammer something with a Godmaker hammer. Everybody, check out Godmaker, man.
oh,
Please
hell
check them
yes.
out. I'll link them somewhere in social media or something for this interview. I'll tag them at the very least because they need to know this. Like this is such a
Yeah.
cool, such a super cool thing.
Yeah, they did a really incredible, a really beautiful Pink Floyd cover. I think the song is In the Flesh.
Mm,
And for that, to promote it, they made these hammers. I mean, Aqualamb made hammers. It's like nuts.
right.
But like I said, they don't shy away from those challenges, those financial challenges. They take the risks, and they reap the rewards, because I think they also get, like, like, if you put good product out into the world, eventually people will want it. You know what I mean? They work in that mindset of like limited edition, this limited quality of these, and they're just like two kids in a candy store. These guys, I mean, Jonathan and Eric are like, they're just psyched to be doing this stuff. And like, they're like, yo, dude, we're gonna make hammers, bro. And they're just really super excited about what they do. So I definitely did jump on board with Aqualam. They were interested in Spilacopa and whatever I was working on for some years, and me and Eric had some conversations, and this just seemed like the perfect time to work together. And I'm so glad I'm working with them. I mean, I'm literally, not a day goes by that I don't hear from them, or I reach out to them and I have questions, or I need support, or I need something. They're right there for me, and they're involved in every single asset of this whole thing. So I really could not do this without them. I mean, I guess I could, but it would not be the same. I mean, so far the work we're putting in is paying off. We're getting a lot of people are checking out the music and are interested. So I'm really grateful.
Awesome, man. I note to self, I need to interview those guys.
Oh, you should. That'd be
I
great.
will try to set that up after this.
Yeah.
Just as we wind this down, I want to give you back your busy day,
Hmm.
and of course, lots of exciting stuff. I know you're doing some live, let's say, live performances of this project with what I assume will be some kind of band of your choosing. What
Right.
else are you working on that you can share? I know you produce a lot of bands. Obviously, Candiria is always lurking. Like maybe we'll get
Sure.
something. Of course, anything you open to sharing that you're able to talk about, we would love to hear about.
Sure. Well, as far as the live band is concerned, I am working with three fine musicians. Michael MacGyver from Candiria, always my constant companion musically. Um, Andrea Horn from the band Voreen is stepping in to sort of take on the role of doing most of the vocals, the female vocals live, and playing the guitar as well. Candace is going to jump up and do Angels Delight with us at the show on Sunday. And then Jeff Gens, he's playing drums, and he is a fantastic drummer. He plays in a band called Savak, and also a band called The Twin. Shout out to those guys. That's with my buddy Eric and Artie. Just a band full of friends that I know. But other than that, right now, I mean, I'm so focused on this right now. It's really hard for me to even focus on anything else. But I guess there's always like the possibility of some kind of Candiria thing happening. It's always a possibility. There's music sitting around that we've worked on recently, and there's music that's been sitting around for many years that's never seen the light of day. Which I love getting stuff like that out into the world. And I also want to start getting out the rest of the albums out on vinyl, the format. I mean, there's such a demand for it. And I mean, we put out 300% density, the vinyl, the 20th anniversary vinyl record came out through Tentacles Industries, my buddy Virgil out in Europe, which he did a great job with it. Um, it came out and it sold out in like a day and a half. It was the fastest selling record I think I've ever seen. Anything I've ever been involved with sold out. It sold out so quickly. I couldn't believe it. Um,
Don't look for it on Discogs. You might cry, fans. I did, but
oh, you
anyway,
did?
yeah, I
Is it
looked it up. I was like, oh, it's going for a lot. As it
okay?
should, as it should.
Okay. Well, I will say this. I'm pretty sure there's a second pressing in the works. So,
Okay, good to
all
know.
right.
Good to know. Get a
Keep an
little
eye out.
intel.
Yeah. Other than
Awesome.
that, that's all I got, man.
All right. Hey, you have so much, and I'm very cognizant of that. John, man, I'm so proud of you. This is such a good record.
Thank you so much,
Congratulations
Keith.
on everything, man. It's so great to see your face and hear your voice and hear
Mhm.
this great music and the voices of others on this record and all the guests. Just shout out to you, bravo, and I hope next time we do one of these, it's another one in person. This is fun. There's more
Right.
fun to see you in the flesh, either when I get back east or if you get out west.
Sure, man. Thank you so much, Keith. I really do appreciate it. And I do want to say a shout out to Capra. who is a great fucking band on Blacklight Media, my buddy Chris Santos' label. They are a fantastic band, and it's just good to see you representing them.
Oh yeah, that's those are my. I love Tyler and I love them
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and Crow. They're fantastic, and I'm very proud of their success. They
Hmm.
just played with I Hate God on a little run of dates, so they're
Yeah,
blowing up. Super
they're
proud of them.
blowing up. They're doing their thing, man, and good band that it well deserved.
Indeed. Thanks for hanging with Ghost Cult, man. Again, always a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Keith.